Hey, Mike Amundsen here again, talking to you more about designing and building great web APIs. Been spending some time in the last several screencasts on testing, so I thought I'd show you how I write my Postman tests, give you an idea of what's my thinking and how I go about this job. So let's go ahead and just take a look at a Postman. I got my Postman client loaded up here. I'm going to just hit a endpoint, which is I'm just going to hit the home page of one of my APIs. It's a real simple API. It just sends a real simple request back, a little body that just tells me a little bit about what's coming up. So this is what my root of my API for the company API sends me. Sends me a home array, which is a bunch of anonymous objects, which have IDs, names, rels, and an href. That's how I get started on my API. So how do I test this? Let's keep it really simple and straightforward. What I want to do is I want to test three things every time I do an API test. I want to test the network, make sure, for example, I'm getting a 200 OK back and that I'm getting the proper content type header. I want to test the structure as the second home. And I want to make sure I'm actually getting a body that's got a home array in it, and that array has one or more objects in it. And then finally, I want to test the values of that structure. I want to make sure that if that home array has an object with an ID, that the ID is set to list. So those are the three things: protocol, structure, and value. So let's take a look at how I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip over to my tests here. I keep my tests pretty simple. I use the Chai JS library that's built into Postman. I like that a lot. The expect library, it's a rather behavior-driven development style library, so I like that a lot. So here are my protocol tests right here. So this first one is literally, I expect the response code to equal 200. Pretty straightforward. The next one is that I want to check a header. So I want to check the content header. I want to make sure that the content header is there. And then I want to make sure that the content header's value includes application JSON. Now, notice I didn't say equals because I'm not really sure what's going on. There might be a semicolon quality value or version number or some other stuff in this API that I'm not really in control of. As long as it's got application JSON in the content type, then I know I'm going to be okay. So that's good from the network side. So let's talk about structurally. So let's talk more about the body of this element. So I expect this to come back with this home array, right? So this is exactly what I'm looking for here. The response body contains a valid home object. So first, body.home, I expect it to be an array. So that's the next thing. And then once I have that, I'll collect that up. And then I want to make sure that every anonymous item in that array has an ID, a name, a rel, and an href. Now, in this case, I only have one, but I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Since it's array, I want to be able to check that. So ID, name, rel, href, there's a home array that has this. That's my structural element for the response. Then I want to check the values. So let me go ahead and look for the item in the home array that has an ID of list. That would be the first thing. So then I want to check, and now that I know I've got the list object, then I want to check to make sure that the ID is set to list, that the home is set to company, that the name is set to company, and that the rel value includes both company and collection. Now notice for all these strings, I'm using the expected to include and not equal for the same reason we talked about earlier. I don't know exactly what else is going to be here, but as long as that information is there, as long as I can find that, then I'm going to be okay. So that's really how I want to run my tests. So I'm testing for protocol, I'm testing for structure, and then I'm testing for value. Now, this can be a little bit tedious writing these tests. In another screencast, I'll talk about how I use a library, a utility library, to make this job easier. You can customize these, you can expand these a lot. I have sets of these utilities for various media types. So whether it's collection JSON or Siren or Uber or Mason or HAL or Prag JSON or all these other ones, I'm always going to have a library that I can use. And that even includes errors. We'll talk about errors and SADPath elements in another screencast as well. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're working on here. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this makes sense. That's another example of what we're working on in the Design and Build Great Web APIs book. Catch the bug at the top. You'll see more in this series and a chance to figure out how you can get a copy of the book. I'll see you again.